This is Bumper to Bumper, the car show. Drive in anxious and cruise out confident. With the best automotive information for your vehicle. And now your hosts, Matt Allen and Dave Riccio.
Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to Bumper Radio. I am Dave Riccio here along with Matt Allen, and together we are your KTAR car guys, heard every Saturday from 11 to noon. At Bumper to Bumper Radio, we're helping you, the driving public, have a better overall car experience. So if you got car questions, we've got car answers, so we encourage you to give us a call at 602-277-5827, 602-277-KTAR. And today on the Bumper to Bumper Roadmap, fact or fiction. We're going to have to come up with, I always say that. We don't do one. Come up with one.
Sometimes I think you just want to play with that little button there for the reverb.
Yeah, I do. Open phones. And, Matt, I had a car in my shop this week that makes this topic fitting for me. I had a Honda Pilot, and we were working on the transmission for the guy. And this car was in great shape. Everything it needed, he got. 140,000 miles on it. And I'm looking at it, and he's complaining about a clunking noise, plus we're taking care of his transmission stuff. And he's got brand new shock struts all the way around the car, and he's got a clunking noise because whoever put those brand new struts up front didn't change out the strut mounts. So I thought, you know what? That's one of the repairs that people do when they're really, like, okay, I've got this car. I'm going to keep it for another 5 years, another 10 years. I'm going to invest in it. I'm going to get the struts, the shocks, the suspension upgraded. And they go make this big investment. But they made this big investment, but didn't quite go all the way. And they probably had no idea they didn't quite go. Because this guy told this guy, said, I know you got new struts on there, but your strut mounts are bad.
What's that?
What's that?
He doesn't. You don't know.
Idea.
You don't know what you don't know. And you said a suspension upgrade, Dave. I wouldn't necessarily call it an upgrade. I mean, these update. Yeah, these cars, the struts and shocks start wearing out around 80,000 miles. I mean, that's about the time. If anybody's talking to you about replacing your shocks and struts prior to 80,000, you're probably want to have some more conversations with some more people. I think the window opens up around 80, but that also changes depending on the car and how you're using it. I mean, we've had fairly new cars, 2 years old, come in the shop with a blown out strut, but they're under warranty. You go get that taken care of. So the time to start thinking about this is based on symptom, or around 80, 90,000 miles is that window. And I'm of the opinion as soon as they're bad is when you want to replace them, because if let's just say you're going to keep the car till 190,000 or 180, you got 90 and then another 90 to go. Well, why replace them at 150? You want to enjoy them, Yeah, enjoy them. As soon as they're bad, if it makes sense financially to do that, that's the time to get it done. But not all strut jobs are created equal. And,
and that's the thing.
They're not cheap.
This strut job that this guy had done made my skin crawl because, I always say if I get the job done wrong for $8, but I get it done right for 10, I'd rather spend 10. So you're like, okay, I'm going to make this investment in this vehicle I got, because I'm going to get some more years at it, some more life at it. And I'm going to go ahead and redo the shocks and struts, or maybe it's all struts, maybe it's both. But so you're going to go ahead and spend all this money, and the person that's doing the job for you, a lot of times they'll leave out key components to the job, which I consider a strut mount. I would do a strut without a strut mount. There's some instances maybe, but why not? So
well, let's back up a little bit, Dave. So most people might come in and say, I have a noise, I have this clunk, or I have something happening, and then we determine and we'll make a broad statement: you've got bad struts or worn out struts. Well, typically it's not the strut that makes noise. Wouldn't you agree? I mean, the strut will be worn out, make the car bounce, make it lean, or another way, you step on the brakes and the whole front end dips down, the headlights disappear at nighttime. That's a sign of a bad strut, but oftentimes the noise is associated with it. And each one of those struts, you have to remember, or the shock in the back, sometimes they have shock mounts, sometimes they have strut mounts, but especially in the front, you're mounting a steel strut assembly to a steel body of the car, or the subframe, or unibody, whatever you want to call it. You've got to have some rubber cushioning in there. So that strut mount consists of rubber cushion and a lot of times a bearing. Sometimes a ball bearing, or that Torrington bearing, I think they call them. And so every time you turn the wheel, that bearing's working. Every time you go over a bump, that's also beating up on that rubber bushing, which is there to isolate. And when that wears out, that's when you get the noise. So like you're saying, Dave, they put the struts on. Yeah, the struts are probably worn out. But, You go put four. Sometimes the damn strut mount is more expensive than the strut itself.
Yep.
And then you got to put 4 of those on there where, we'll get people that price shop and I'll tell them struts are $1,600. They go, oh my God, no. What? They're $1,200 over at Acme. Oh, did they put the strut mounts on? They call them back? Nope. I think a lot of guys, if you're not confident in the service that you provide, they're afraid to lose the job because the price is too high. It is an expensive job, and I squirm given that price sometimes. But right versus wrong.
Well, and this is where you as the consumer, we want to give you good information so that when you are, if you're going to own a car, at some point you're going to buy some struts. So how do we go through that? Well, it's by asking the question. So when someone calls up and offers something to you, say, hey, you want to put some new struts in your car. Well, what kind of struts are you putting on there? Tell me about them. Is there anything else we should be doing while we're doing the struts, that we should, because if you do struts on a car, you need to align the car. Alignment needs to happen. I've seen estimates where someone got struts and there's no alignment on the ticket, and there's also no strut mounts. Mm-hmm. So strut mounts are one of those things that definitely come up. So how do I make sure you're going to spend a bunch of money, but you can spend a little more to get it done right. You know,
Dave, when we first started doing this years ago, you talked about having a new window put in your living room at your house. It had 3 different contractors come out. One guy gives you the price, it's $800. Another guy's $1,200, or another guy's $1,500. You ask the guy with the $1,200 or the $800, what's the difference? Well, or I think you said, okay, you're only $800. What would it be to make it more? You could put a sash here, we could put some trim here. So the guy was giving you the bottom of the barrel estimate. So like you asked the question, it's $800 to do it that way, but how much to do it better?
Right.
And the point I'm getting at, I don't care if you've got a Honda Pilot, you've got a Toyota Camry, a Chevy Malibu, pick a car. There's all different levels of struts. The most popular are Monroe. That's maybe the gold standard out there.
It's kind of the brand everybody recognizes.
Yeah, and KYB is the other one. But I'll tell you what, Acme Auto Parts sells a strut made by international strut makers of China, or there's some other made-up name like that.
They run the polonium carbide.
Yeah, and I can buy that. That's something that they might use at a used car dealership or some place where I would never buy that and put that on my car. Retail price, that one's like $70, where the Monroe or the KYB is $170. So again, it goes back to, hey, what kind of struts are you putting on there? Is there a better brand we can put on? Or how can I save some money? Maybe you start to ask the questions to find out where you're falling in in this whole program. And like you say, what else can we do? What else makes sense? I think you cut yourself short when you're always looking for the cheapest thing. I'm not trying to say just spend more money,
right.
To spend more money, but at least explore the options.
Well, yeah, and it's not spend more money, but if I'm going to spend money to do it wrong, I might as well spend money to do it right.
Yeah.
I think what it gets to, and sometimes the difference is not that dramatic. It's, as I say, if you can get it done wrong for $8 and right for 10, I'd rather spend 10.
Right.
Yeah, it is costing me more money, but spending 8 on something that is of zero value is a waste of money.
Or less.
So I'm just saying, is it... if I buy something for $10 and there's $9 worth of stuff in it, that's great. But some people sell it to me for $8, but there's only $2 worth of stuff in it. I don't want that job. So if you're going to spend the money, you're going to make the investment in your car, you want to enjoy your car, do it right. Exactly. And so, you want to be working with shops to establish, and somebody's not just going to tell you what you want to hear, because you want to hear. We all know you want to hear a better price. Oh, yeah, we want to hear how cheap it's going to be.
Right.
Right? So that's what you want to hear. We can tell you what sometimes the truth hurts a little bit.
Yeah. Right. Well, it's and I think most of the industry is cured of this sickness was, and also because consumers got smart about it. You talk about timing belts. And they'd call and get a price on a timing belt. Oh my gosh, they're $400 less than you. Well, but are they doing the water pump? No. And then I said, well, okay, they're probably going to call you in about 2.5 hours and say, gee, Sally, you need that water pump. And Sally says to herself, well, son of a gun. Probably should have just listened to Matt and done the job there, because now I'm like a rat painted in a corner.
Right.
They took everything apart and now they're giving me options instead of advance. I always tell consumer, I'd rather scare you away with a high price than disappoint you thinking it's going to be less than what it really needs to be to do the job right.
I don't know why they do it that way, but I do know why they want the business, but I think for you as a consumer, the key is to ask questions. Mm-hmm. And don't be chasing the best price. It's not the best price if it's done wrong. It's not the way you want to do it. And I've seen people literally leave my shop and go to another shop because the price is dramatically different. And then they get over to the other shop and you take the car apart and then it's like, oh, shoot, yeah, we were wrong. We thought this was a 4-cylinder, not a V6, so therefore it's this price, the same price they left for. So they towed the car, took time to tow the car to a different shop to save $1,000. And at the end of the day, they spent that same $1,000, but now they had to go back several times because they couldn't get the car right.
And I'd be willing to bet that same $1,000 of total expenditure was not the same quality of job, because those guys that did that, they're incompetent in the first place. And if you're incompetent, you're also dishonest to some degree, right, Dave? I mean,
you can't be that way.
But real quick, I want to say, I want to touch. We don't have time right now. I want to touch a little bit on quick struts. The ones that come already loaded, and then heavy duty shocks aren't necessarily always the best. But I can tell you one thing: the phone call that I get most often after we have fixed a car is when we put struts and shocks in somebody's car. They call up and they say, "I can't believe how well this car drives. It's like a new car." That's why I love doing that, because we can put timing belts on cars.
Yeah, they don't notice the difference.
Brakes on cars, unless your car wasn't stopping before, the brakes, everything's always the same. But those struts and shocks, I always equate it to getting a new pair of running shoes or a new mattress or a new Lazy Boy. Once you sit in that new one, you say to yourself, good Lord, what was I doing to myself all that time? I should have got these a long time ago.